Okay, stage 4 is where conflicts become visible. So this is the behavior stage. So this includes statements, actions, and reactions made by the conflicting parties. That means at this stage, the conflict become more overt, become more visible. So at the lower parts of the continuums, conflict are characterized by subtle, indirect, and hardly controlled form of tension, such as student challenge a point made by the instructors. However, conflicts can intensify as they move up along the continuums until they become hardly disruptive, such as strikes, riots, or wars, as you can see in the next slide. Here, this slide, at the behavioral stage, conflicts may start with a minor disagreements and overt question or challenging others, and this conflict may escalate into something serious, such as aggressive physical attacks or overt effort to destroy the other party. So here, this what it says, lower part of the continuums are coming from lower parts, and they move up along. So here the conflicts become more disruptive. So functional conflicts are normally confined to the lower range of the continuums. So normally the lower part of these continuums happens normally amongst functional conflicts, and moving up along these continuums is more dysfunctional kind of conflicts. So here, this slide lists major resolutions and stimulations techniques that allow manager to control conflicts levels. So here is mentioned there are some conflicts and how to overcome this conflict, the techniques to overcome the conflicts. So under ideal conditions, a person's intentions should translate into comparable behaviors. So for example, the conflicts, problem solving, how to solve the problems, maybe through open discussion, having face-to-face meetings to identify the problem and resolve it through open discussions. And also another way of technique to resolve the conflict is through superordinate goals. Having the shared goal among the both parties in conflicts can actually reduce the magnitudes of the conflicts, especially if these parties in conflicts need to cooperate with each other. If they have shared conflict, if they have shared goals, it will be easier. It will be more helpful to cooperate with each other. And another technique is expansions of resources. That's mean expanding the supplies of the resources also can help in reducing the conflicts. Avoidance. Some people like to use avoidance. They do not want to face the conflicts. So avoidance is withdrawing from the conflicts or suppressing the conflicts, like by ignoring or by keeping away from meeting the persons who you have conflicts with. Smoothing is playing down differences while emphasizing more on common interests. Sometimes when we have conflicting ideas or opposing message or ideas or belief in some things, so if we are focusing more on the common interests and avoids talking much on the differences, this would avoids escalating the conflicts. And other things is using compromise. Compromise also can actually is actually one of the techniques to resolve the conflicts, where each parties of the conflict give up their the something that they value. So it's kind of give and take. So both parties try to give up something that they value. That means they are not really competing to get the same thing that desires. Authoritative command is letting management use its formal authority to resolve the conflict. Some people they cannot manage the conflicts themselves personally, so they ask the management or the organizations to resolve the conflicts. or altering the human variable, for example, using behavioral change techniques such as human relations training. So asking the HR to do some trainings to alter the attitudes and behaviors that cause the conflicts. So this is more of the long-term kind of solutions, because in order to change attitudes and behavior, it will take time. So this considered as a more of the long-term kind of solutions. Altering the structural variable, changing the formal organization structures. Sometimes the conflicts happen because of the structures of the organizations that can easily create the conflicts. So by changing the formal organization structures and interaction patterns, could be able to reduce or resolve some of the conflicts through job redesign, transfer. For example, if you have problem with your colleagues, maybe you can ask for transfer, or you can maybe the organizations need to do some job redesign to avoid facing the employees with the problem, so can avoid some conflicts to escalate in the organizations. So this slide is more of the conflict stimulation techniques. This slide is more of the techniques on how to resolve the conflicts. This one is the techniques to stimulate or to increase the conflict. So one is through communications. So if communication is the individual use ambiguous or threatening message, this actually can increase conflict levels among the individuals. And bringing in outsiders, sometimes adding employees to a group, having employees to a group whose backgrounds, values, attitudes, and managerial style difference from the rest of the members can actually create problems or can lead to conflicts. And also one of the way that can cause conflict is restructuring of the organizations, especially these realignments of work groups, altering rules and regulations. So all this actually all this happen which disrupt the status quo of the existing members, could actually lead to a conflict, because not many people like to move from the comfort zone to something that's into risky zone. So here realigning work groups, altering rules and regulations, increasing interdependence actually can disrupt the status quo, and means that the comfort zone of the individual. So this actually can cause the conflicts to exist or to escalate into more serious conflicts. Another way is to appointing a devil advocate. Devil advocate is act like they come in and they critics everyone's, or normally designing a critics to purposely argue against the majority positions held by the group. So devil advocates is someone's normally come and then criticize anything regarding the majority positions, or someone the majority of the employees, normally on some things that's cause negative impact on the organizations. So this actually this technique could increase more conflict, could create more conflicts among employees in the organizations. So stage 5 is the last stage. So it's the outcome. Conflict can be constructive, that's meaning functional, when the conflict exists, and these conflicts could improve quality of decisions, stimulate creativity among employees and innovations, stimulates creativities and innovations among employees, and encourage interest and curiosities. And also provides conflict is constructive when it's provide the medium through which a problem can be added and tensions is released, and also could foster an environment of self-evaluations and change. So the conflict, if this conflict exists and it could improve the organization into something better, is considered functional or constructive. The conflict that is dysfunctional happen when this conflict breeds discontents or breeds creating dissatisfactions among employees, and then because of the dissatisfactions leads to reduce in terms of group effectiveness, in terms of job satisfaction, in terms of job performance, employee commitment, and so on. So this threatens the survival of the group as well as the survival of the organization. So it's become dysfunctional or disruptive. So in some situation, like I mentioned, conflict can be beneficial. Beneficial in terms of functional conflicts. So one of the keys to minimizing counterproductive conflicts is to recognize when there is disagreements. Sorry, when there is a disagreement. So it is important in order to minimize something's negative in the organizations or something counterproductive by recognizing that there really a disagreement. If we didn't recognize the existence of the problem, how to solve the problem? So many apparent conflicts are due to people different language to discuss the same general course of actions. And also successful conflict management normally recognize this different approach. So they attempt to resolve them by encouraging open, frank discussions that focus on the interests rather than issues. So in order to become the conflict, in order to become functional, first it is important to recognize that the disagreement exists, and in some maybe because of the diversity of the employees, diversity in terms of background, religions, races, and so on. So it is important to recognize that disagreements exist, and then resolve by encouraging employees to open, friends, discuss about the problem and focusing more on the interest rather than on the issue. So these are considered the conflict that's come out of this leads to this solving of the problems is considered functional. So groups that resolve conflict successfully normally discuss differences of opinion openly. So when they discuss their opinion openly, there will be some ways, suggestions to overcome the problems. So the most disruptive conflicts are those that never address directly. So normally when we have conflicts, if we keep aside, it will leads to more serious problems. So an open discussion make it much easier to develop a shared perceptions of the problems, and also will allow group to work toward mutually acceptable solution. So the point here is to resolve the conflicts. In order to resolve the conflict successfully, it needs to openly mentions about the conflicts, what actually the disagreements, or what actually the problem. So if the conflict can be discussed openly, there will be some shared perception how to overcome the problem, how to solve the problems. So managers need to emphasize share interest in resolving the conflict. So manager needs to emphasize more on the interest rather than the issues. So group with cooperative conflict style and underlying identifications to group goal are more effective than group with more competitive style. So in general, in order to resolve the conflicts, first need to identify, recognize the problems that the disagreement exists, and then need to focus on the interest rather than the issues, and then need to openly discuss about the problem, and also need to develop a shared perceptions about the problem, and then come with the mutually acceptable solutions. So the group that focusing more on the cooperative conflicts, that's mean focusing more on the satisfying others regarding concerns and so on, is more effective, and also focusing on identifications to the group goals are more effective than focusing more on the competitive style. Let's mean competing to satisfy themselves, to satisfy their own concern, their own interests.